Welcome to the Tech Meme Ride Home for Monday, December 16th, 2024. I'm Brian McCullough. Today, I break down the coming battle of the titans that is likely going to play out in 2025 between Sam Altman and Elon Musk. Mark Gurman says Apple is finally going foldable. Oh, and that magic mouse, that sin against God, charger design is going away. Every country wants a Starlink, and the big legal battle happening this week. Here's what you missed today in the world of tech. Are we about to see the biggest clash of the titans Silicon Valley has maybe ever seen? There are a whole swirl of worries for OpenAI concerning the seemingly personal vendetta from Elon Musk. But we'll get to that in a second because Mark Zuckerberg has opted to pile on first. In a letter to California's Attorney General Rob Bonta, Meta urged a halt to OpenAI's for-profit transition, saying Elon Musk is, quote, qualified to represent the interests of Californians in this matter. Quoting the Journal, Meta said allowing the ChatGPT maker to become a for-profit company would set a dangerous precedent of allowing startups to enjoy the advantages of nonprofit status until they are poised to become profitable. OpenAI's conduct could have seismic implications for Silicon Valley, Meta wrote in the letter. If OpenAI's new business model is valid, nonprofit investors would get the same for-profit upside as those who invest the conventional way in for-profit companies while also benefiting from tax write-offs bestowed by the government. Meta hasn't previously weighed in on the long-running feud between Musk, who co-founded OpenAI in 2015 and then left amid a power struggle in 2018, and OpenAI chief executive Sam Altman. In its letter, Meta said it supported an effort by Musk and Siobhan Zilis, a business and personal associate, to represent the interests of the public in deciding whether OpenAI will be allowed to become a for-profit company. Although we ask your office to take direct action, we believe that Mr. Musk and Ms. Zilis are qualified and well-positioned to represent the interests of Californians in this matter, Meta wrote, end quote. In a blog post, OpenAI turned back to firing at Elon Musk himself, writing, quote, "You can't sue your way to AGI. We have great respect for Elon's accomplishments and gratitude for his early contributions to OpenAI, but he should be competing in the marketplace rather than in the courtroom. It is critical for the U.S. to remain the global leader in AI. Our mission is to ensure AGI benefits all of humanity, and we have been and will remain a mission-driven organization. We hope Elon shares that goal and will uphold the values of innovation and free market competition that have driven his own success," end quote. And then OpenAI proceeded to publish emails from Elon himself, which show him writing in favor of personally owning OpenAI and running it as a for-profit company. Quoting Axios, the emails discuss the ideal structure for the company as well as the growing need for more capital to fund the massive amount of hardware needed to pursue OpenAI's work. OpenAI maintains that Musk was pushing for a for-profit entity in which he had both control and a majority equity stake. OpenAI also disclosed that Musk registered in September 2017 to incorporate a public benefit corporation entitled Open Artificial Intelligence Technologies Incorporated. In September 2017, Ilya Sutskever sent Musk, along with Altman and co-founder Greg Brockman, an email rejecting Musk's terms. Quote, "The current structure provides you with a path where you end up with unilateral absolute control over the AGI. You stated that you don't want to control the final AGI, but during this negotiation, you've shown to us that absolute control is extremely important to you," the email said. OpenAI aims, quote, "to make the future good and to avoid an AGI dictatorship," Sutskever wrote. Thus, we are concerned that as the company makes genuine progress towards AGI, you will choose to retain your absolute control of the company, despite current intent to the contrary, end quote. So to sum all this up, Elon has this suit explicitly to keep OpenAI from going for profit, which people think could effectively kill it as a player in the AI race because it would hamper OpenAI's ability to raise the capital needed to train new models. That would open the playing field for startups like XAI to build those enormous models. See the Colossus megacluster XAI is cobbling together to build the world's biggest model yet. But there's another way people are whispering Elon Musk could kneecap Sam Altman. Given his close proximity to the new administration, could Elon kill OpenAI via 1,000 regulatory cuts? The Financial Times has sources from all sides of this. Quote, I believe pretty strongly that Elon will do the right thing and that it would be profoundly un-American to use political power to the degree that Elon has it to hurt your competitors and advantage your own businesses, Altman told a New York Times conference last week. Trump himself has said Musk would put the national interest ahead of his companies, while Musk said on his social media platform X that rivals were right to expect him to be magnanimous. No one believes that for a second, said a lawyer who has incurred Musk's wrath in the past. Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn and board member at Microsoft, OpenAI's biggest backer, said he was, quote, certainly worried that Musk's animosity toward Altman would play out in Trump's AI policies. Quote, obviously someone with integrity and character would say, look, since I'm involved in these kinds of lawsuits and so forth, I should keep myself distinct from the operation of government in these things, said Hoffman. Should Musk blur his personal views on larger geopolitical rules and structures, it, quote, portends potentially dangerous myopias and dangerous conflicts of interest, he added. People close to Musk said he was too principled to use his new role to target OpenAI with onerous regulation, and it made no sense to do so given his remit as the co-chair of a new U.S. Department of Government Efficiency to find ways to slash regulation. You will see a bunch of red tape cut, said one person who has invested in Musk and Altman's companies. OpenAI will have a streamlined process for getting their data centers up and running quickly. It will be equally applied across the competitor set, they added. Musk could, however, leverage his position as a central player in the incoming administration to boost XAI, according to an investor in one of his companies. The U.S. government is the biggest employer in the U.S., the person said. As Musk's web of customers expands, does the government become a large customer for XAI? Hoffman, a former OpenAI board member, speculated that Musk could use his position to slow down competitors to XAI. You could just do all of that kind of thing if you're implementing government policy to try to privilege one company over others, he said, adding that it would be, quote, frankly, a very destructive thing to do. It's destructive for the industry. It's destructive for American society, end quote. The one feather in his cap, other than torturing Altman, is the speed they put out Colossus, said a large investor in a number of Musk's companies, including SpaceX and XAI. Nobody has the same compute power for AI, and that's a big deal, but there's a lot to be determined, end quote. We've heard this rumor plenty of times, but for Mark Gurman, Apple Scoop Monday, it looks like Mark is putting his full weight behind getting this going again. Apple is reportedly working on a foldable device the size of 2 iPads. Come for that news, but stay for the fact that maybe they have also finally decided to ditch the Magic Mouse design where the charger is on the bottom. I guess Johnny Ive really has left the building in Cupertino, quoting Bloomberg. Apple designers are developing something akin to a giant iPad that unfolds into the size of 2 iPad Pros side by side. The company has been honing the product for a couple years now and is aiming to bring something to market around 2028, I'm told. Apple's goal for a foldable device is to avoid the crease that current products have when they're in the open position. And the company has made progress on this front. Prototypes of this new product within Apple's industrial design group have a nearly invisible crease, but it's too early to tell if Apple will get rid of it altogether. Samsung, which launched its first foldable phone 5 years ago, has tried unsuccessfully to remove the crease ever since. Right now, Apple's largest iPad tops out at 13 inches. Apple knows that customers, gamers, software developers, or just people watching movies want the biggest screen possible. And the only way to sensibly ship a mobile product with a large display when approaching 20 inches or so is to make it foldable. Otherwise, it's too hard to throw into a purse or a backpack. It's not yet clear what operating system the Apple computer will run, but my guess is that it will be iPadOS or a variant of it. I don't believe it will be a true iPad-Mac hybrid, but the device will have elements of both. By the time 2028 rolls around, iPadOS should be advanced enough to run macOS apps, but it also makes sense to support iPad accessories like the Apple Pencil. It is my impression that much of Apple's current work on foldable screen technology is focused on this higher-end device, but it's also been exploring the idea of a foldable iPhone. In that area, Apple is the only major smartphone provider without a foldable option, end quote. Mark says that by the time the foldable iPad hits, Apple hopes the Vision Pro will have caught on, maybe as a desktop computer replacement of sorts, and then some augmented reality spectacles of some sort. This is why I sort of feel like it's time for this rumor to catch fire. This fits into a whole next-generation suite of computing devices that I feel like Apple wants us to want. But speaking of wanting a next-gen version on that mouse, quoting Mark again. At no time over the last 15 years did Apple resolve the major complaints about the Magic Mouse's design. From the start, critics have griped that it wasn't ergonomic or comfortable to use. An even bigger issue, the charging port is located on the bottom of the mouse, so it can't be used while plugged in. I've never been too concerned about this myself. The mouse charges quickly, and you only have to do it so often. The good news is there's a new Magic Mouse in the works. I'm told that Apple's design team has been prototyping versions of the accessory in recent months, aiming to devise something that better fits the modern era. Apple is looking to create something that's more relevant while also fixing long-standing complaints, yes, including the charging port issue. As for when the mouse will arrive, I wouldn't expect anything in the next 18 to 12 months, but the current Magic Mouse is nearing the end of its life, and Apple is working on a full overhaul, end quote. Oh, and Mark also says new AirTags are coming with a new ultra-wideband chip that will increase the range of those devices beyond the 10 to 30 meters they currently have. We've spoken at length about every country feeling like it needs a domestic chip industry for geopolitical reasons, but increasingly, countries have also seen what's been happening in places like Ukraine and other places and are like, we need our own satellite internet as well. We need our own Starlink. China is hard at work deploying their own system, and now the EU has signed a deal to build the 10.6 billion euro Iris² satellite internet network to rival Starlink, with 61% of the project funded publicly, starting operations, or at least planning to start in 2030, quoting the FT. The Iris² multi-orbit constellation is Europe's third major infrastructure project in space after the Galileo navigation system and Copernicus, the world's largest Earth observation network. It was announced 2 years ago with the dual aim of providing sovereign, secure communication services to EU member states, while also reviving the bloc's flagging space sector with a cutting-edge project. Timo Pensanen, the Commission's Director General for Defense, Industry and Space, underlined the strategic importance for Europe of having its own space-based communication network. Autonomous and secure connectivity was, quote, imperative for the EU, he said. Iris² underpins our strategic autonomy and defense capacity, promotes our competitiveness, and energizes public and private sectors' cooperation, he added. SpaceRise, which includes European space and communications companies Airbus, Deutsche Telekom, Telespazio, and Thales, among others, will have a 12-year concession to design, build, and operate Iris², end quote. And quoting TechCrunch, first announced in 2022, Iris², Infrastructure for Resilience, Interconnectivity, and Security by Satellite, is a public-private partnership whose initial cost, estimated at 6 billion euros, leapt 76% through a fraught negotiation process. In the end, the program will be 61% funded from the public purse. An industry consortium called SpaceRise, selected in October, is making up the difference. This grouping includes French satellite giant Eutelsat, which merged with European rival OneWeb back in 2022. Elon Musk's Starlink, meanwhile, already has some 6,000 satellites in orbit, recently passed 4 million subscribers, and has major deals with the likes of Royal Caribbean and United Airlines. It's also gearing up to launch a direct-to-phone service with T-Mobile, end quote. And quoting Engadget, though most of the satellite's work capacity will be used to provide commercial broadband services, a significant part is dedicated to security and crisis management. Most of the satellites are planned for a low Earth orbit, but some will be in a medium Earth orbit, end quote. And something to put on your radar because this is coming and it looks like, weirdly, it's going to be resolved quickly. The Arm and Qualcomm chip licensing dispute is headed to trial in Delaware in a high-stakes battle set to last only about a week, quoting the Financial Times. It is a high-stakes battle that will shed light on how two of the world's biggest chip companies and former allies turned against each other over a $1.4 billion startup acquisition. At the heart of the dispute is Qualcomm's acquisition of Santa Clara-based chip designer Nuvia in 2021, which had a chip architecture license from Arm. At the same time, Qualcomm is one of Arm's biggest customers with its own license for Arm's architecture, which is used as a foundation for designing chips. SoftBank-backed Arm alleged that Qualcomm failed to secure the required consent to transfer Nuvia's license after the acquisition and is now using Arm's intellectual property without its permission. Qualcomm has countered that its existing license with Arm is sufficient. Arm sued Qualcomm in what it has described as a last resort move to protect its intellectual property. It marks the first time in Arm's 34-year history that it has taken such a drastic step, bringing its confidential licensing agreements into full view in a public courtroom. Qualcomm, on the other hand, is no stranger to intellectual property disputes, having squared off before with the likes of Apple, which challenged Qualcomm patents in wide-ranging litigation that ended in a settlement in 2019. It has decried Arm's move as an attempt to squeeze out higher royalty rates and interfere with its product roadmap as both companies expand into new markets, end quote. And quoting Reuters, Qualcomm used Nuvia's designs to create new low-powered AI PC chips launched earlier this year that Microsoft and others expect will help the Windows operating system regain lost ground to laptops made by Apple. Nuvia and Qualcomm each had licensing agreements with Arm, but with different financial terms. To use the designs based on Nuvia technology, Arm has said Qualcomm must renegotiate the Nuvia contract terms. Expected witnesses include Arm Chief Executive Rene Haas, Qualcomm CEO Cristiano Amon, and Nuvia founder Gerald Williams. Williams was a senior executive in Apple's chip unit and is currently a Qualcomm vice president, end quote.